Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the 1% of Juju podcast, where we teach you the practical steps to live your life like the 1%. It's your boy Juju back at it again. I'm glad to be back. Guys, before we start, please make sure you go ahead, subscribe to the podcast. Obviously, we're on YouTube now, so please subscribe on my YouTube and go ahead and check me out on all podcasting platforms, all your favorite platforms, and make sure to give a big thumbs up, whatever you need to do. But we're going to dive right back into it. I'm not going to waste no time. It's always like a little awkward, honestly, like sitting here by myself, like talking about this stuff. So as much as I love hearing myself speak, I feel like I want to have more people. So that's why I'm working on so many like guests and things like that in the future. But for now, it's just me and my pretty face that y'all have to deal with. That's the second time in a row that I make a joke about my pretty face. So I guess y'all just have to deal with it at this point. But we are in the second episode of a 5-episode series on investing. And today, I think last time we spoke about we talk about an investing philosophy when you start investing and you go into it. Oh yeah, my big spiel at the beginning was basically to say that I have guests coming. It's hard scheduling this stuff because everybody in this world is busy because, we all chasing that bag. But at the same time, it's coming. It's necessary, and I do what I need to do. If I need to record episodes at like midnight at night, I will do it to make sure that you guys get some good content. But I have guests coming. But yeah, last time we spoke about having an investing philosophy. Today we're gonna get into it a little bit more, and we're gonna talk about different platforms, how to use them, who should use what, how to leverage different ones, the pros and the cons of everything. Because I think that that's often like a huge misconception, is like someone will I see a lot of people be like, oh, this is stupid, or you should never do this and you should never do that. But everybody got a different circumstance, so different things might be a better idea for different people. So we're going to speak about the different platforms, but also about different buckets. I didn't really know how to talk about that, but essentially different, right? Like your investing has different purposes. You might have like, money that you put somewhere that you're going to use like really shortly, money that you're going to use in like the midterm and the long term. Those are the 3 buckets that I'm going to split yourself into, and I'm going to give you a few examples. But from a platform standpoint, there's a million of platforms out there, and obviously we're speaking to both Canadians and we're talking to US people as well. So I'm going to give you a few examples, but I'm going to speak more about like the types of platforms and like what the key differences are, what's right for everybody, like the fee structure, like how they usually work and things of that nature. But I guess let's dive right into it. Instead of like just me speaking about what I'm going to talk about, I can just actually talk about it. And I'm sorry, my throat been giving me a hard time tonight, so please deal with me. If the sound sucks, I will be working on that. I will be working on myself and having just being better, I guess. But the first type is the self-directed that I'm going to speak about today. And self-directed, if you think about it, is really just buying stocks, buying individual stocks, bonds, and things of that nature. This is more of a DIY. Is that what it is? Or DIY, active involvement. You want to be involved in your trading every single day and be really in control. That would be the way you would do it, right? You would need to do your own research. Obviously, you can leverage somebody else's research. Most of the time, I don't even do my own research, but like I just kind of look at what other people have been doing. And I mean, I guess that's research in itself, but you need to do your own research. You decide which stocks you're going to buy, and then you go ahead and purchase them. And you need to be to some extent involved in your trading. And so to have a little bit of time on your hands. So not for all stocks, but when you do trade, some stocks can be a little volatile, and there's some stocks that maybe aren't as good of a buy and hold play, right? Like maybe some stocks, they're going to explode, make a lot of money in a short amount of time, and then drop really bad and things like that. And you might need to be buying and selling or balance your portfolio every once in a while. So you do need to be a little bit more involved. But there's also stocks, like there's some safe industries that we're going to talk about in the upcoming weeks, with just, you can just buy the stock and literally hold it forever, and you're going to continuously either make a little bit of money or get some dividend income out of that, which we're going to dive a little bit deeper into in the future. But so in this situation, you do need to be a little bit more involved and a little bit more active when you're buying these stocks when they're with a self-directed platform. You can also buy ETFs. When I spoke about like the involvement, you can also buy ETFs, which is just tracking the index. Once again, this is something that we're going to go more in depth on those, the types of investments, what you actually buy within those platforms when you do buy those platforms, when you do use those platforms, we're going to talk a little bit more about what you actually do buy inside of those, but you do have the option of buying ETFs, which is just tracking the index, which is usually super cheap, and you don't need to be super involved. You don't need to think too much about it, because you're just tracking the stock market. What the index is basically, if you think about like the S&P 500, that might be a word that we have heard in the past. This is something I'll cover in the future, but just to give you a little nugget now, it's just basically the 500 biggest companies on the stock market of different industries, and you're just tracking them all together instead of you deciding, well, I think that this portfolio, if you remove this company and add this company, is going to do better. So you're kind of hedging that risk, and there's not too much management involved there. So you can buy those in your self-directed investments as well. The price of those can vary. So they can be somewhat expensive. Typically, you're paying for each trade that you're making. So let's say I want to buy a singular Apple stock. I would pay a flat fee for my one Apple stock that I'm buying. So it's usually not in your best interest to put in a lot of small trades, right? It's usually going to be because then you're just spending a lot of money on the fees. It's usually going to be in your best interest if you have, right, like let's say a share of Apple, it's about 122, but let's just say for easy measure, it is $100. While if you're gonna buy $100 today, pay, let's say $10 in fees, well, you already lost 10%, right? But while if you put $1,000 down and you pay the same $10, now you're looking at 1% of your money, so it makes a little bit more sense. So that's the way to think about those self-directed. Usually you're paying for each individual stock. Now it can change. Some of them are more expensive on the higher end. The higher end I've seen is like $10-15 per trade. The lowest, all the way down to free. If you think about platforms here in Canada, a lot of the banks have self-directed investment accounts. There's accounts such as Quest Trade that usually tend to be a little bit cheaper, and then the Wealth Simples here, which are completely free. You can put in trades for free. In the US, same thing. You can use things such as E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, things of that nature, or platforms like Webull or Robinhood, which tend to be free, which are usually free as well to put in trade. So you can start with smaller amounts, like I said, right? If you want to start investing, but you do not have that $1,000, $2,000, $10,000 for it to make sense to pay a very small amount of fees, well, now you can use some of these other platforms. Now, on all these platforms, you're buying the same stock. So you're not buying the stock. I said the Apple stock that was $100. It's not $120 on one platform because you're paying less for the platform. You're buying the same stocks. You're buying at the same price and things like that. The thing what you're really paying for, which I found at least, is the analytics. So the ability to do your research on the app directly, the interface and things of that nature, as well as the speed. Some of the free apps, or the free platforms, it can take a little bit of time for your money to be available for you to actually be able to use it in order to put in your trades. So sometimes that's the disadvantage of those platforms in themselves. But if you have the time, if you're patient, right, if you're just wanting to put trades every once in a while, you'll be able to do that no problem, because you're buying the exact same stocks. And sometimes it does make sense to not pay those fees. It can have a big impact on your portfolio in the long run. The second type that I'm going to talk about is the robo advisors. And you may not have heard this referred to as robo advisors. I don't believe that they call those robo advisors in the US, but I'm going to lump them all together in this group for the purpose of this, because I think that it just makes sense. But what those are is simply portals online. I don't know why my hands are this wide. If you can't see me, well, this comment doesn't make sense. But what those are, the robo advisor, what they really are is just a platform online where you can go in yourself and just pick a portfolio that someone has already built. The cool thing about that is like people, right? It's done to scale, so it's done to reach a lot of people, meaning that it's not going to be as expensive as a portfolio, that has been tailored or done just for you. So now the disadvantage is also that it's not a portfolio that's been tailored and built just for you specifically. Now, that's not necessarily bad. The stock market is the stock market, like we spoke about last time. There's not really any experts when it comes to stock investing. Most of that is a lot of luck and patience and being diligent and patient when it comes to your investing journey. So those robo advisors, what you can do is like you go on a website, websites such as Vanguard, Fidelity, here in Canada, once again, the Wealth Simples will have those as well. Robo advisors, Nest Wealth, Quest Trade, same thing, and a lot of the banks as well. They will have those for you. They're pre-built portfolios that you can just go online and purchase for yourself. You'll usually pay a percentage of the fee up front. So a percentage of the money that you're paying, that you're putting into your account, usually anywhere from 0 point something up to 2. I don't know the exact percentages, but it can really vary. I would say even up to like 5% of your portfolio of the money that you're putting in. Goes towards paying those fees, and then you invest it, and everything you make off of that afterwards is your money to keep. So you're paying the percentage up front. So it doesn't really matter how much you put in it, right? So if you put $100, well, it's just, let's say 2% of your $100, which is $2. Well, if you put $1,000, it's 2% of your $1,000, which is $20. Sorry. My quick math was not adding up and not working out here. In this situation, the platform is managed a little differently. So the more expensive one, it may mean that the platform or the portfolio in this situation is managed a little bit better. So here you can't just look at the price of it and say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. This one is cheaper, therefore I'm going to make more money in this situation. If you're having to pay, let's say 2% in fee, let's say 1% in fees, but you're getting a 6% return, but in this other portfolio you're paying 2% in fees, but you're getting an 8 or 9% return on average every single year, you're better off going to and paying a little bit more fees and getting a little higher return. So you want to take a look at the historical performance that those portfolio have. What have they done in the past? How have they performed? Now, there's no guarantee. You want to keep that in mind. And a lot of people, when you go out and you ask for advice, it's not because this portfolio has a 20-year of going straight up, even during a recession or anything like that, that it's going to continue trending up. It could go down tomorrow and it doesn't make sense, right? Like, especially those portfolios that are very, that don't necessarily follow the trends of the market, because there's really nothing that we can do to predict that. I can think about, like, just to give you guys an example, back when the pandemic was starting and to happen, a lot of people were kind of looking around and thinking that, well, the stock market is going to crash, the housing market is going to crash, all these things are going to crash. And then out of nowhere, the market picked back up and started soaring to levels that it had never reached before. So the stock market, the unfortunate part is, like, it makes no sense whatsoever. There's no way to control that. So you want to look at the history to give you an idea of how it's been managed in the past. But because the past experience does give you a good indication of, the quality of people that are managing these portfolios, but that is by no mean does that mean that you're going to get the same amount of returns in the future. So keep that in mind as you go through that and as you go through your journey. One thing I do love about this platform, about the Roboadvisor specifically, and I've recommended that to a lot of my clients that I work with personally, with subtle plug, which I don't do a lot anymore, but we'll do it here. Go to 1%ofjuju.com and book your session, free consultation, 50 minutes. You get to speak with me, with my pretty self, and then we get you on the right track to get you back on your finances, to get your finances right, and get your money right, get your money up, and reach your goals. There's 3 different services, but anyway, that's for another day. But yeah, that's essentially it. I recommend that to a lot of my clients because it's an easy way to start. It's very, very simple. You're very detached and disconnected from it. So there's not too much involvement. You're not having to keep an eye on what stock is doing what every day. You just build a portfolio. It's super easy. Once you turn on those platforms, they ask you for a short questionnaire, which is basically, what do you want to do with this money? When do you want to use it? How experienced are you, right? Like what's your risk tolerance? How versed are you when it comes to investing? And based on that, they build a somewhat tailored portfolio. Like I know for a fact that they're not that tailored because I can see the portfolios all being the same from one person to another, but a somewhat tailored portfolio for you, for yourself, for your goals, that allows you to then invest. And all you have to do is set up direct deposit in that account every single month, every single year, however often you want, or you can do it manually. You can do a large amount of money all at once. But you do it that way, you set it up, it's out of sight, out of mind, and you don't really have to think about it. And that's really one of the beauty of it. And you're getting steady, solid returns according to what the market is doing, obviously, without needing to have too much investing experience and without needing to be too involved or in your investing journey. So that's why I like this. This is really for that person, right, that's not super experienced when it comes to investing, that doesn't want to spend a ton of time learning it, right? Like you've heard about everybody talking about investing their money and this and that, and you're like, well, I know for a fact that if the money just sits in my bank account that I will lose due to inflation. But at the same time, you're like, I don't necessarily care to know that much, like the ins and out of the investing and things like that. So that would be right for you. Make sure to check that out. Like it might be a good idea for you in that situation. Now, the next one, next we have, I included that as a platform. I included this as a platform, but it isn't necessarily a platform, but that is working with an advisor. And sorry, I got my messages coming in here. But that is working with a financial advisor. So I included that here because, and this is the last one I'll talk about today, but it's actually important to know this as an option because I think that a lot of people, don't consider this enough of an option, and it's because they don't have the knowledge behind what it is to work with an advisor. And I have a really good friend of mine that's coming in to speak about this specifically in one of the episodes that's upcoming. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And she's a financial advisor. Obviously, she won't be able to give any too much of the ins and outs of her job just due to regulations and rules that she has to obey by, but she will still be able to give good advice on what does it mean to work with an advisor? What does it look like on a daily basis or on an annual basis and things of that nature. So stay tuned for that. But what working with an advisor is basically just outsourcing all of this to a professional, because as much as you can listen to things on the internet and all that and listen to cool people like myself speak on a podcast, it can still be hard to kind of know where to start or what to do exactly when it comes to, you're taking your cash, your hard-earned money, and putting it into something. So I get it. It's not easy to just fully commit to doing this. So basically, you're just outsourcing all of that to a professional that's going to be able to sit down, spend a decent amount of time with you to understand your goals, where you want to be, what you have in mind, like what do you want this money to do for you? What do you want the future to look like, and things of that nature, and be able to give you the sound advice and put you in the right position. Really just having a coach and having someone that's there with you along the line and along that journey. For that, I would say definitely get a referral. Don't just listen. I found my financial advisor by just Googling financial advisor, and then I just picked one. I think I found it on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn financial advisor, and it's worked great for me. I love my financial advisor. I was personally a financial advisor, but when I came to Toronto, I wanted to have someone along that journey with me that kind of understood my goals, that could hold me accountable, and also that could tell me sometimes no, this is really stupid, right? So that's where I wanted to have someone, and I was willing to pay for that. And I found him that way, and he turned out to be amazing. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I would say definitely try to find a referral. Try to find someone that's going to refer you to the right person. I think that my financial advisor loves me because I just call him sometimes, and I'm like, I need this product. That I remember that I used to have to, not hammer sell into people, but convince people that they need. But I just call him and I'm like, hey, I need this. Can you send me a quote or whatever? So I think that he really loves me for that. And because I'm also just a great person, but whatever, that's beyond the point. So yeah, definitely get a referral for your financial advisor. And what you're paying here for is the expertise and the accountability, and just someone to have with you along the line. The fee structure for this could be different from advisor to advisor. Some advisors charge you fee-based plan. You can do fee-based planning when you have larger portfolios. You have a lot of money to handle. You pay your advisors a flat fee on an annual basis, and then they invest that money for you. That's when your portfolio reaches the millions and things of that nature. And otherwise, there's so many different ways that advisors get paid. So make sure you ask those questions. If you're going to sit down with an advisor, don't hesitate to ask them the question: what's this going to cost me? How am I going to pay this? And how do you get paid? That is a very fair question to ask. How do they get paid? I used to be upfront with my clients and tell them right up front, right, what questions do you have for me? You can ask me the question, how do I get paid, if that's a question or concern that you have, because I don't want to leave this unturned, right? So, and those answers should always be clear. If you leave kind of confused and and if they just tell you oh, don't worry and things of that nature, run away. Those answers should always be clear. It's your money. It's your future. It's not something to play with. And obviously I've had some pretty bad experiences, not necessarily with financial advisors, but with different things in the past. So make sure you ask those good questions. You may want to consider an advisor if you have a Sorry, my camera stopped recording for some reason, so this might be all off. I'll see what I can do when it comes to editing, but whatever. We're going to continue. So you may want to consider an advisor if you have a very complex portfolio, like if you're inheriting money, you have very large amounts of money that you're not confident how to manage yourself. If you have businesses, if there are certain tax implications, those are places where you want to add a professional to the mix, and maybe have another set of eyes, working with you. I also think that it's a good idea when you're young and you're, if it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, especially, try to talk to your advisor about what their fee structure is. But it might make sense to pay your advisor, let's say you were going to pay 1.5% on your investment. If you did it on your own, it might make sense to pay 1.7% in order to have someone that's going to be along with you with that journey. So you're building that relationship from early on. So it might make sense at that point. So keep that in mind. That's the main reason that I started working with an advisor, because I know that at some point my portfolio is going to be really complex and starting to get to that point, right? And I'm very thankful to have someone that was with me when I was just getting started, that we've kind of grown together and now we're here. So Yeah, I'm not going to make a Drake reference here, but whatever. But talking about taxes, that actually segues really nicely into the next part of the conversation, which is the buckets, right? Because the main reason there are different buckets, and the reason you want to take advantage of those is because of the tax implications. So the longer you keep the money, right, the more tax advantages the government is going to give you towards your investing and things like that. So those three buckets that I talked about earlier were the short-term bucket, the midterm, and the long-term. So the short-term bucket is what I refer to as 0 to 5 years. So money that you're going to use, right, if you want to buy a house really soon, keeping your emergency fund and things of that nature. You're just going to keep that money into cash accounts, money market accounts, little to no risk, right? Like you don't want to go out and take a bunch of risk with that, but you're also not going to earn a lot of interest. So you're not really investing that money. You're putting into safe, there are out there safe assets that are going to grow for you, and give you a small amount of interest, but at the same time, they're not super risky, and there's not a big chance of you losing a lot of that money. So that will be the short-term bucket. Now the midterm bucket, now that's where it gets a little complex, especially speaking to an audience that is a little international, because that will really depend on where you're located. There's some purely taxable accounts where you can just put in stocks. You can just buy stocks, buy mutual funds, buy whatever, and you pay taxes at different stage of your investing journey. When you put the money in, as it grows, you pay what's called capital gains tax, and when you pull the money out, you're paying ordinary income tax. So that's just simply taxable account. This midterm bucket refers to money that you're going to spend 5 years from now up until retirement, right? So you're going out, you're still investing the money, you're taking a little bit more risk, but at the same time, you're still keeping in mind that you do not want to lose too much. You don't want to take too much risk because you don't want to lose too much, because you won't have as much time to recover from that. Some examples of that, right? Education accounts, or RESPs here in Canada, or simple 529 plans in the United States are examples of that. Just the purely taxable stock accounts. I already spoke about education savings. And here in Canada, we have what's called a TFSA, which is great, which is a tax-free savings account, which allows you to pay taxes as you put the money in, which means just you putting money that you've earned, right? You've paid, it's your income, so you've already paid taxes on it, and then you never have to pay taxes on it, and you can invest on it as much as you want. You can invest and earn as much as you want on it, right? Like you can put it into an asset that's going to earn you a lot of money, and you're not going to have to pay taxes on any of that, which is absolutely amazing. And you can take it out whenever you want. Sorry, that was the big thing, is in the United States, there's no asset like that where you can invest and not have to pay taxes on it and be able to take it out before retirement, which is really great. And it's a tool that we should definitely take advantage of in Canada. The last one that I'll speak about it quickly, because this is already getting long and I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I hope you guys taking notes and really taking in the information. That is the most important part. But the last bucket is the long-term bucket, which is the retirement and beyond. So usually around 59 and a half, 60 years old and beyond that, those are your IRAs and 401ks in the US. 401k just refers to what it is at work, right? Like it's a retirement plan at work. That's just the code that the IRS gave to it. And the IRA is an individual retirement plan, which gives you basically other tax advantages, but you cannot touch that money until retirement. And in Canada, we have what is called an RRSP, which is registered retirement savings plan, which allows you to save on taxes as you put the money in, right? You get a tax refund at the end of the year. But once again, it is money that is kept for retirement. There are different tax advantages. I'm not going to go too much in detail into all of those. Maybe in the future, if that's something that you guys are interested in, put in the comments, put reviews, or message me on social media, and I'll make some episode about, the different tax advantages that they bring to you. Like I said, you cannot access those until retirement, except in Canada. Once again, we have all these great benefits in Canada. It's amazing. It's great. But the RRSP, they allow you to use your RRSP in order to buy your first home. If you're a first-time home buyer, they allow you to use it, but you then have to put the money back before, I think you have 15 years to put the money back in there, which is great. But this is where we're going to stop. Like I said, I don't want to overwhelm you guys. If you took something from today's episode, please make sure to share this podcast with somebody else, with somebody you care about, or it could be somebody you don't care about. It doesn't make a difference for me, but do share it with somebody, please. That is really the only way that this platform grows. Outside of that, please just make sure you like, comment, review, make some comments. Tell us what you want, if you learned something, what do you want to hear about, and things of that nature. I want to make sure I bring to you the content that brings you the most value, and make sure you subscribe, because there's a lot more great content. There's a lot more great guests that are coming, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So make sure you subscribe. But for today, make sure that you're taking the steps today to ensure that you're 1% closer to your goal than you were yesterday. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.